The heavy rain fell relentlessly, washing the streets of the quiet town, but Noah didn't mind. The world outside felt far away, like an old dream he could never remember. He stood by the window, his small fingers pressed against the cold glass, eyes fixed on the darkened woods behind his house. The storm raged on, and in its violent fury, Noah could sense something important, something calling out to him. He hadn't spoken a word in months, ever since the accident, when the world had become a blur of fear and sadness. His mind had closed off, retreating into a silence that no one could breach. But today, something was different. The rain, the storm, they weren't the only things moving. There was a soft sound, low and distant, almost like a cry. Noah's heart raced. He wasn't sure why, but the sound was familiar. Something in him stirred, a feeling that he should be the one to go out there. He didn't understand why, but all he knew was that he had to find the source. "Mom," Noah whispered, his voice barely audible. Hannah, his mother, was in the kitchen, preparing dinner. The sound of the rain against the roof drowned out his quiet voice, and she didn't hear him. She hummed softly as she worked, the warmth of the stove offering a strange comfort in the storm. Noah's fingers tightened around the edge of the windowsill, his eyes scanning the dark woods. The cry came again, more distinct this time, like a soft whimper, a desperate plea for help. He knew it was an animal. His heart thudded in his chest, and a deep, unspoken urge pushed him toward the door. Without thinking, he pulled on his boots and grabbed his jacket, the rain now battering against the front door as if urging him to go. He opened it slowly, stepping out into the storm. His clothes became soaked immediately, but Noah didn't notice. He was already on a path, his eyes fixed ahead. He was following the sound, drawn to it like a compass pointing to something far more important than just an ordinary animal. Hannah finally noticed the door creaking open. She stepped into the hallway, wiping her hands on her apron. "Noah," she called out, her voice filled with a mixture of concern and surprise. "Where are you going?" "I heard something." Noah's voice was small, but there was a strange sense of determination in it. "A dog. It's hurt. I have to help." Hannah's heart skipped a beat. She knew the trauma Noah had been through, the pain he'd locked inside. He hadn't spoken to her in so long, not since that terrible night. To hear him say anything, let alone speak so urgently, was a moment of both hope and worry. "Oh, sweetheart," Hannah said, stepping forward to put her hands on his shoulders. "You need to stay inside. It's too dangerous out there." But Noah pulled away, his eyes not leaving the rain-soaked wilderness. "It's scared, Mom. It needs me." A knot tightened in Hannah's stomach. She had always known that Noah's connection to animals was deep, something pure and unspoken. It was the same reason she couldn't stop him now. Maybe this was the first step, his first sign of returning from the silence that had haunted him for so long. "All right," Hannah said, her voice firm yet gentle. "But we're going together. We're both going to help. We don't leave anyone behind." Noah didn't argue. Without another word, they both stepped out into the storm. The rain was cold against their skin, and the wind howled through the trees, but Noah didn't seem to notice. His small hand, usually so withdrawn, gripped his mother's tightly, as though he felt safer with her beside him. They walked into the woods, the trees around them bending under the force of the storm. The path was slippery, the ground churned by the downpour. Noah didn't care. He followed the faint cries, each step taking them closer to the sound that was both mysterious and familiar. After what felt like an eternity, they stumbled upon a clearing in the woods, and there, half buried in the mud, was a German shepherd. The dog's fur was matted with dirt and rainwater, and her eyes were wide, terrified, and in pain. She was pregnant, and the sight of her struggle sent a pang of sorrow through Noah's chest. He could feel her fear, her pain, and it was as though something inside him clicked into place. "Mom," Noah whispered, his voice choked. "She's in trouble." Hannah gasped at the sight of the dog, her heart sinking. "Oh my God," she said softly, kneeling beside the dog. She gently placed her hands on the animal's side, trying to assess the damage. The dog didn't move much, but her eyes followed them with a mix of trust and terror. "We have to get her out of here," Noah said, his small voice unwavering. "She's so scared. She needs us." With a sense of urgency, Noah carefully reached out to touch the dog's head, offering the comfort of his touch. The dog, still trembling, slowly allowed him to stroke her fur. There was a moment of stillness between them, the storm's fury now a distant background to their connection. Hannah looked at Noah, tears welling in her eyes. "You're right," she said softly. "We're not leaving her. Let's get her out of here." Together, they carefully pulled the dog from the mud, cradling her gently. As they made their way back to the house, the dog let out a soft whimper, but she didn't resist. Noah and his mother shared a quiet moment, their bond with the dog already growing stronger with every step. When they reached the house, Hannah hurried to call the veterinarian. "We need help. There's a dog, she's pregnant, and she's been trapped. She's injured, badly. Please, we need you to come." Noah stayed close to the dog, his hand still on her head, whispering softly to her. "You're safe now. You're not alone anymore." As the hours passed and the vet arrived, Noah sat by Luna's side, his heart racing. He knew they had to act fast. The dog's life, and the lives of her puppies, depended on their care. He watched the veterinarian work, his small hands clenching in worry. His mother, too, stayed close, her eyes never leaving Luna. The veterinarian glanced up, shaking his head slightly as he worked. "She's been through a lot. But she's strong. She might pull through." Noah's heart swelled with hope. "She's strong just like me." The vet smiled softly, his eyes kind. "That's right. And with your help, we'll make sure she's okay." As the night wore on, Luna gave birth to 7 healthy puppies, each one wriggling into the world with a desperate need for survival. Hannah looked at Noah, a tear slipping down her cheek as she watched him gently touch one of the puppies. It was as if a silent bond had formed between them all, the dog, the boy, and the new life that had been brought into the world. Noah whispered, more to himself than anyone else, "We're a family now." Hannah held him close, her heart full of gratitude. "Yes, sweetheart. We are." The quiet joy of Luna's recovery was a fragile one. Despite her physical injuries, the dog slowly regained strength. The puppies, 7 in total, nursed eagerly, and Luna's protective instincts were undeniable. Noah spent every waking moment with her, his tiny fingers gently stroking her fur, his voice whispering comforting words that only Luna seemed to understand. Hannah watched, her heart swelling with pride and hope as she saw the bond between Noah and the dog grow stronger. However, despite the warmth inside the house, an unsettling feeling lingered in the back of Hannah's mind. Luna's fearful reaction to the man who had come to the veterinary clinic didn't sit right with her. The man had been too insistent, too demanding, and there was something off about the way he looked at the dog. Noah had been right. Luna needed their help, but why had the man claimed to be a police officer? Why did Luna react so terrified, even though she had just met him? The questions weighed heavily on Hannah as she cleaned the kitchen. Noah sat at the table, sketching pictures of Luna and the puppies, his face focused but distant. The silence between them had started to feel like a normal part of their lives again, but something inside Hannah told her that this calm wouldn't last. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the doorbell rang. Hannah's heart skipped. She wasn't expecting anyone, but she knew who it might be. She glanced at Noah, who had stopped drawing and was now watching the door, his face etched with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Noah, stay close," Hannah said, her voice tight with unease. Noah nodded, standing up and walking slowly to her side. Hannah opened the door cautiously, only to be met by the same man from the veterinary clinic, the one who had claimed to be a police officer. His face was no longer cold, but there was an edge of something darker in his eyes, something that made Hannah's stomach turn. "I'm sorry to bother you again," the man said, his voice smooth, yet there was an unsettling undertone. "I just need to take the dog back. Luna belongs to us." Hannah crossed her arms, standing firm in the doorway. "I told you before. This dog is under our care now. We've been taking care of her ever since we found her. She's not going anywhere." The man's eyes narrowed, and his lips curled into a thin smile. "You don't understand. She's part of something much bigger than you. You have no idea what you're dealing with." Before Hannah could respond, Noah stepped forward, his small body tense. "Luna's mine now," he said, his voice steady but filled with an unspoken determination. "She's not going anywhere. She's part of our family." The man looked down at Noah, a flash of surprise in his eyes. "A brave boy you are," he said, almost mockingly. "But you don't know the dangers involved. She's not just a regular dog." Hannah's mind raced as she processed his words. "What do you mean? she asked, her voice colder now, her protective instincts kicking in. What's so special about her? The man hesitated for a moment, before his expression darkened. Luna is part of a project, a very important one. I can't go into details, but trust me when I say that she's far more than just a dog. She has abilities that were never meant to be released to the public. Noah stepped closer to his mother, his voice quiet but firm. We're not giving her up. She's been through enough. The man seemed to contemplate this for a moment, then sighed heavily. Very well, he said, his voice shifting to one of cold finality. But you'll regret this. The people behind this project don't take kindly to those who stand in their way. I'll be back. Before either of them could say anything else, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the evening mist. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with the weight of his words. Hannah closed the door slowly, her mind spinning with the implications of what she had just heard. Luna was part of a project? What kind of project? And what kind of abilities could a dog possibly have? She glanced at Noah, who was sitting by the fireplace, his eyes fixed on the flickering flames. Noah, she began softly, I don't know what's going on, but we can't let anyone take Luna. We need to protect her. Noah nodded, his face serious. He didn't speak, but his grip on his pencil tightened. He was determined. There was a quiet strength in him that had emerged since finding Luna, something that told Hannah he wasn't going to back down. Later that night, as Noah lay in bed, his mind raced with questions about the mysterious man and the strange things he had said. He had always felt an unspoken connection to Luna, something more than just a pet. There was an understanding between them, a bond that felt ancient and powerful. He could hear Luna's soft, comforting thoughts in his mind, like a whisper only he could hear. Noah had always been able to understand animals, but Luna, she was different. There was something special about her, something beyond what Noah could explain. He closed his eyes and let his thoughts wander, and that's when he felt it. A soft, quiet voice in his head, not his own, but Luna's. Noah. He sat up in bed, his heart pounding. He had heard it clearly this time. Luna had spoken to him, but not with words. Her thoughts had connected with his. Luna, he whispered, his voice trembling with both fear and awe. Is that really you? Yes, the voice responded, softer now. I need you to be brave. You and your mother must protect me. There are people who want to take me back. They've done terrible things to me, Noah. Please. Noah's breath caught in his throat. He had known something was wrong. Now he understood. Luna wasn't just a dog. She had been part of something far more sinister, something that could change everything for their family. The next morning, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that they were in greater danger than ever. The man's words echoed in his mind. She has abilities. Hannah, sensing his unease, sat down beside him at the kitchen table. Noah, she said softly, I need to know what happened last night. You've been quiet, and I can see you're worried. We'll figure this out together. I promise. Noah looked up at her, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. Mom. Luna can talk. I heard her. She's scared. Hannah's heart dropped. She had suspected something was wrong, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. We need to find out everything we can about Luna. We can't let those people take her. They've already hurt her once, and we won't let them do it again. Noah nodded, his resolve clear. We'll protect her, Mom. We'll protect Luna, and the puppies too. The days following the encounter with the mysterious man were tense. Hannah couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She spent hours researching, digging into anything she could find that might explain Luna's origins. Noah, too, seemed different, more connected to the dog than ever. He was quieter, but in a way that made Hannah both proud and worried. He was listening to Luna now, as if the dog's voice had become a part of him. Noah could hear Luna's thoughts clearer every day, a quiet whisper in his mind. It wasn't just the bond they had, there was something else, something more powerful, that Luna was slowly revealing to him. Noah, they will come for us soon. You have to be ready. Luna's voice echoed in his mind, clear and urgent. He had no idea what they were, who the people were that Luna was referring to, but Noah knew enough to understand that this was serious. He couldn't shake the unease creeping into his chest. It wasn't just a simple case of a dog needing a home, it was bigger than that. Luna was in danger, and if she was in danger, that meant they all were. One afternoon, Noah was sitting by the window, staring out at the woods. The rain had stopped, but the air was thick with something he couldn't explain. His mother was busy in the kitchen, making lunch, but Noah was too distracted by the thought of what would come next. What if the man returned? What if the project that Luna had been a part of was more dangerous than they knew? Suddenly, a car pulled into the driveway. Noah's heart skipped a beat. The vehicle was unfamiliar, black and sleek, with tinted windows. It wasn't the same man from the clinic, but something about it made Noah's instincts scream. He watched as two men stepped out of the car, both wearing dark suits. They moved with purpose, as though they had done this many times before. "Mom!" Noah called out, his voice rising with panic. Hannah rushed into the room, her eyes wide. "What's wrong?" Noah pointed at the window. "There are people outside. They're coming here." Hannah froze. A wave of fear swept over her. She had prepared herself for something like this, but now that it was happening, she felt the weight of the situation more than ever. She didn't know what these men wanted, but she knew they weren't here to visit for tea. "They're coming for Luna," Hannah muttered under her breath. She turned to Noah, her face hardening with resolve. "Stay close to me. Don't let them see you." Noah nodded, his small hand gripping her own. "We have to protect her, Mom. We can't let them take her." The men approached the house, their footsteps deliberate and confident. They walked up the porch steps, and Hannah's heart raced. She moved quickly to the door, locking it and pulling the curtains shut. She looked down at Noah, who was watching her with wide eyes. "I'm going to go outside," she said softly. "I need to talk to them. Stay here and stay quiet. You hear me?" Noah nodded, but his heart pounded in his chest. He didn't want to stay behind. He wanted to be there with his mother. He could feel Luna's anxiety growing inside him, a tightening in his chest that made it hard to breathe. She was scared. Hannah opened the door just enough to see the two men standing on the porch. They were older, both with dark, cold eyes. One of them wore dark sunglasses, despite the overcast weather, and the other had a stern expression that seemed to cut through her like a knife. "Good afternoon," the man with the sunglasses said in a low, measured tone. "We're here to speak with the family about a matter of some urgency. We understand you've recently acquired a dog named Luna." Hannah stood tall, her body tense with defiance. "I don't know who you are or what you want, but that dog is ours now. She's safe here." The man's lips twitched into a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're mistaken. Luna is not yours. She's part of a project, a research program. You've interfered with our work, and now you'll have to deal with the consequences." Hannah's stomach dropped. Project. That word again. The project they had been investigating. They weren't just after Luna, they wanted to take everything she had become. "We're not giving her up," Hannah replied firmly. "And if you think you're going to take her, you'll have to go through me." The man's expression shifted. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, his gaze turned cold, his voice taking on a darker tone. "You don't understand. This is beyond your control. If you refuse to comply, things will get much worse for you. For your son." Noah's heart raced at the mention of him. He felt a chill run down his spine, and his instincts screamed at him to act. Something about these men felt wrong, dangerous. Before Hannah could respond, the other man stepped forward, pulling out a small device from his pocket. He pressed a button, and a soft beep echoed from the small machine. The sound was unmistakable. "They're already tracking us," Hannah muttered under her breath, her eyes darting toward the back of the house. Noah knew they couldn't stay here much longer. He could feel Luna's fear growing stronger. It wasn't just fear for herself, it was fear for him, for his mother. They were all in danger. Without warning, the man with the sunglasses stepped forward, his hand reaching for the door handle. "You'll come with us now. It's the only way to end this peacefully." But as his hand touched the door, Noah moved quickly. He grabbed his mother's hand and pulled her back, away from the door. His mind was racing, and suddenly, he understood what he needed to do. "Luna." He called out to her, not with words, but with his thoughts. "Luna, we need you." From the back of the house, the soft glow began. At first, it was faint, like a whisper of light in the dark. Then it grew stronger, illuminating the room, casting shadows that danced on the walls. The men paused, looking at each other in confusion. The glow intensified until it filled the entire room, and suddenly, Noah saw it, Luna, her body glowing like the moon, her eyes locked on his. She had heard him. She was with him. In that moment, Noah knew what he had to do. He didn't need to be afraid anymore. Luna's abilities were more than just a tool for escape. They were their lifeline. Hannah, feeling the shift in the air, grabbed Noah's hand and pulled him toward the back door. "We need to move now," she whispered urgently. As they bolted toward the backyard, Luna followed them, her body glowing like a beacon in the storm. The two men stood frozen, their confusion turning to frustration. But it was too late. The Wells family was already disappearing into the woods, guided by Luna's light, as the first steps of their escape began. The rain had returned, heavier now, as if the sky itself was conspiring against them. The dense woods stretched out before them, but the glowing light from Luna was their only guide. Noah's heart pounded in his chest as he held onto his mother's hand, the cold, damp air biting at his skin. Luna moved swiftly beside them, her glowing body a beacon that pushed away the darkness. Noah glanced up at Luna, her golden light pulsing gently in the darkness. He could feel her anxiety through their connection, a quiet hum that vibrated through his chest. "Don't worry, Luna," Noah thought, reaching out to her through their bond. "We're going to be okay." Luna's presence in his mind was calming, a soft whisper that assured him. "I will protect you, Noah. Always." The sounds of the men following them, shouting for them to stop, were muffled by the pounding rain and the thundering pulse of adrenaline in Noah's ears. They had to move quickly. The safety of the forest was temporary. If they didn't get to a safe place soon, they would be cornered. "They're going to catch us," Noah's voice cracked, his fear rising in his chest. Hannah squeezed his hand tighter, pulling him closer. "We can't stop now. Keep going, sweetheart." They ran through the mud, their feet slipping on the slick ground. The rain-soaked trees above them creaked, their branches swaying dangerously in the wind. But Noah and Hannah couldn't stop. Luna's glowing light flickered in the distance, always just a few steps ahead, leading them deeper into the woods. Suddenly, a loud crash broke through the rain, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. The men were closing in. Hannah turned to look behind them, her eyes frantic. "We need to hide, Noah. We need to find a place." Noah's chest tightened as he scanned the woods. Through the haze of rain, he spotted an old abandoned cabin, half hidden by thick trees. "There," he shouted. "We can hide in the cabin." Hannah nodded urgently, pulling him towards the cabin. They reached the door and shoved it open, the old hinges groaning in protest. Inside, it was dark, the air damp and musty. It was clear the cabin had been abandoned for years. Still, it was a place to hide, a temporary refuge. They slammed the door shut behind them, and Hannah quickly pulled a heavy piece of wood across to barricade it. She turned to Noah, her eyes wide with fear. "We're safe here for now," she said, though her voice trembled. "But they won't stop looking for us." Noah nodded, his heart racing. He couldn't think of anything else but Luna. What if they find us? What if they take her back? Hannah knelt down beside him, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. "We'll fight for her, Noah. We won't let them take her. I promise." Noah swallowed hard, his fear of the unknown creeping up his spine. But something in his mother's voice gave him hope. She was his rock, his protector. And Luna, with her glowing light and unspoken connection to him, was his constant companion. Together, they were stronger than any force that might come their way. Minutes passed in silence. The rain continued to pound against the cabin, the sound of the storm growing louder. Noah could hear the faint whisper of Luna's thoughts again, like a soft melody in his mind. "Noah, there is something I need to show you." The voice was urgent, yet gentle. It wasn't like before. This time, Luna was asking him to understand something important. He closed his eyes, concentrating, trying to focus on what she was trying to say. Luna's voice echoed more clearly. "They've done things to me, things I can't undo. But you, Noah, you can help me remember. You're the key to breaking free." Noah's heart raced. "What do you mean? What did they do to you?" Luna's response was soft, but the gravity of her words weighed on him. "I've been part of a project, Noah. A project called Moonlight. They experimented on me, gave me abilities to control light, to communicate through thoughts. But it wasn't my choice. I was created for something else, Something terrible. Noah's eyes widened as the pieces began to fall into place. A project. His voice was barely above a whisper. He looked up at Hannah, who was sitting nearby, trying to catch her breath. He had so many questions, so many things he didn't understand. But one thing was clear now. Luna wasn't just a regular dog. She had been made into something more, something they couldn't fully comprehend. Before he could process the information, the sound of footsteps echoed outside the cabin. The men were getting closer. "Get ready," Hannah whispered urgently, her voice laced with fear. "They're almost here." Noah's heart pounded in his chest as he felt Luna's presence beside him. He could feel her resolve. They had to keep going, keep moving. They couldn't let the men take her back. He turned to Luna, his voice steady despite the fear rising inside him. "We'll protect you," Noah said, his voice full of determination. "We won't let them take you." Luna's soft glow flickered, her telepathic voice speaking in his mind. "Together, we are strong. They won't break us." The tension grew thick as they waited, listening to the sound of footsteps circling the cabin. They could hear the men speaking, though their words were muffled by the storm. Hannah gripped Noah's hand, her eyes darting toward the only exit. "They're outside," she whispered. "They're trying to figure out how to get in." Noah could feel Luna's presence growing stronger beside him. The connection between them was undeniable now. They were part of something bigger than just a rescue mission. They were linked, forever connected by their bond, by the light that Luna carried within her. "We have to go," Hannah said, her voice urgent. Now. They didn't have much time. Noah knew that Luna's abilities were their only chance at escape. He had no idea how far Luna's power could reach, but he knew they had to trust her. Noah nodded. "Let's go." As they moved toward the back of the cabin, Luna's glowing form brightened, casting a soft light through the cracks in the walls. The glow became brighter, more intense, until it filled the entire cabin. The men outside stopped in their tracks. "What's happening?" one of the men shouted, his voice filled with confusion. Luna's light intensified, and for a moment, the entire cabin seemed to dissolve into a haze of illusion. The men outside were confused, their vision distorted by the powerful light that Luna had summoned. It was a diversion, an illusion meant to disorient them. Hannah grabbed Noah's hand and pulled him toward the back door. As they exited the cabin, the world outside was distorted by the shimmering light. Luna's glow led them through the woods, guiding their escape as the men stumbled in confusion behind them. For the first time in days, Noah felt hope stir in his chest. They were escaping. They were free. The forest was eerily silent as Noah, Hannah, and Luna made their way through the dense trees. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle, but the weight of the situation hung over them like a dark cloud. Every rustle of leaves, every snapping branch, made Noah's heart race, knowing the men were still out there, following their trail. Luna's glowing light, though dimmed now, still pulsed faintly, offering them just enough guidance to stay on course. Her presence in Noah's mind was a constant comfort, steady, unwavering. "We're almost there, Noah. Stay strong." Noah squeezed his mother's hand. He could feel her fear, but also her strength. She was doing everything she could to protect him, and now, it was his turn to do the same for her. As they moved deeper into the woods, Noah couldn't help but think about what Luna had revealed to him, her abilities, the project that had created her, and the horrors she had been forced to endure. She was more than just a dog. She had been part of a government experiment, altered to have powers that could be weaponized. The organization behind it all had never intended for her to be free, and they would stop at nothing to get her back. "We can't keep running forever," Hannah said, her voice tight with worry. She glanced at Noah, her face filled with determination. "We need to expose them. We need to make sure they can never hurt anyone again." Noah nodded. "How do we do that?" Hannah took a deep breath, then looked at Luna, her eyes softening. "We need help. I think I know someone who can get us the information we need. Someone who can expose them for what they've done." As they neared the edge of the woods, Luna's glow began to fade, but Noah could feel the urgency in her presence. She was scared too, scared of what was coming. The men were getting closer, and their time was running out. "We have to go to the cabin," Hannah said, pulling Noah toward a small hidden path. "I have a friend here, Dr. Lawson. She works with animals, and she knows about the project. She's been trying to bring it to light for years. If we can get to her, she'll help us." Noah's eyes widened. You mean we're not just running away? We're going to fight back. Hannah nodded. Yes, Noah. It's time to end this. They arrived at the cabin just as night began to fall. It was small and tucked away in the corner of the woods, surrounded by thick trees. The lights inside flickered through the windows, casting a warm glow in the darkness. Hannah knocked quickly, and after a few moments the door opened, revealing Dr. Lawson, a woman in her mid-40s, with short, dark hair and kind, tired eyes. She was dressed in a lab coat, her expression serious. Hannah, Dr. Lawson said, her voice low. I knew you would come. I've been expecting you. Hannah stepped inside with Noah and Luna, and Dr. Lawson quickly closed the door behind them. She glanced at Luna with a mixture of concern and awe. She's here, isn't she? Dr. Lawson said quietly. Luna, the one from Project Moonlight. Noah looked up at her, his eyes wide. You know about her? Dr. Lawson nodded, leading them to a small sitting area. I've been researching the project for years. I know what they did to her, and to so many others. They experimented on animals, creating abilities like Luna's, and then using them for military purposes. They thought they could control them. But Luna escaped. And now you've found her. Hannah sat down, pulling Noah close. We need to stop them. They're still out there, hunting us. They want Luna back. We need to expose everything they've done. Dr. Lawson's expression hardened. I have all the evidence. I've been collecting it for months. The project was supposed to be shut down, but they've kept it going. And now they're trying to cover up everything. Noah's heart pounded. How do we stop them? Dr. Lawson's eyes met Noah's, filled with resolve. We go to the authorities. We give them the proof. It's the only way to make sure they can't hurt anyone again. Just as they began to plan their next steps, the door suddenly burst open. The men from the organization, along with the same officer who had threatened them, stormed into the cabin, their faces twisted with anger. You shouldn't have run, Hannah, the officer said, his voice cold. You should have handed over Luna when we asked. Now you've made a big mistake. Luna stood tall beside Noah, her glowing light flaring as if in defiance. She bared her teeth, her body tense, ready to protect him. The puppies, who had been quietly curled up nearby, suddenly started to whimper, their tiny forms huddled close to Luna. No more, Hannah said, her voice unwavering. She stood up, her eyes burning with determination. You're not taking her. You're not taking any of us. The officer's eyes flashed with anger. You really think you can stop us? We control everything. You're nothing. But Dr. Lawson stepped forward, holding up a file. You've been exposed, she said, her voice shaking with fury but filled with conviction. I've gathered everything. Documents, recordings, experiments. It's all here. And I'm taking it to the media. You can't hide anymore. The officer's face twisted in fury. He nodded to his men, who stepped forward, weapons raised. No. Noah shouted, stepping in front of Luna, his heart pounding. You can't do this. Luna's my friend. She's not your weapon. Suddenly, Luna's glow intensified, bright enough to blind anyone standing too close. Her light expanded, creating a barrier between the Wells family and the men. The air hummed with energy as Luna's power surged, her telepathic voice filling Noah's mind. Now, Noah. It's time. The officer and his men staggered back, disoriented by the light. It was too much for them to handle. Dr. Lawson rushed forward, holding up the file. You're finished. We've already sent copies to the media. The truth will come out. You can't stop it. With one final surge of energy, Luna's glow blazed brighter, forcing the men to retreat. The officer, realizing that they had lost, gave one last glare before signaling his men to fall back. They retreated, leaving the cabin in silence. The Wells family stood together, their hearts still racing, but relief flooding through them. Luna's glow faded, and Noah stepped forward, his hand gently resting on her head. You did it, Noah whispered, his voice full of awe. Luna's gentle telepathic voice filled his mind. We did it together. You are safe now. Hannah's eyes glistened with tears as she watched the bond between her son and Luna. It was more than just a rescue mission. It was a transformation, a journey that had led them all to a place of strength, love, and the courage to fight for what was right. "We're not done yet," Hannah said, her voice firm. "There's still work to be done. But for now we're safe." Noah smiled up at his mother, his voice steady. "We'll always be safe, as long as we're together." And in that moment, the family knew that no matter what came next, they had the strength to face it. Together, they had fought for what was right, and together they had won. This story is about the bond between a young boy, Noah, and a special German shepherd, Luna, who have both been through trauma. It shows the importance of compassion, courage, and the lengths one will go to protect those they love. The connection between Noah and Luna becomes the key to their survival, and together, they expose dark secrets, overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. This tale also reminds us that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the bonds we form with others, even with animals. This story speaks to the power of empathy and understanding, even for those who are different from us. It reminds us that the love and care we give to others, be they human or animal, can have a profound impact, helping us heal and overcome adversity. It teaches that protecting and caring for others, regardless of their past, can lead to transformative change, both for us and for them. If you enjoyed this heartfelt and thrilling story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please like this video, comment below with your feelings, and share it with others who would appreciate this story. Your engagement is a great source of motivation for us to continue creating more meaningful content like this. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any future emotional and thrilling stories that we have in store for you. Your support truly means the world to us, and every interaction encourages us to keep creating. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Your time and support are deeply appreciated. We hope you enjoyed this journey, and we look forward to bringing more stories that inspire, challenge, and move you. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to stay tuned for more.